RVBN, the Rich Video Blog Network, home to weekly NFL predictions, top 10 list of everything and anything, great personality profiles, sports video blogs, professional wrestling video blogs, and a whole lot more. An archive of my collection is on Facebook and YouTube, RVBN, Billerica, Massachusetts. Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Google+. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Thursday, November 3rd, 2016, around 7:04 in the morning, Billerica, Massachusetts. It's about 50 degrees out. Going to be cloudy today, and later on today, the steady and heavy rain coming in. It's going to be close to 70. Enjoy it, but you can't enjoy a cloudy day. No sunny breaks, and tomorrow is going to be cooler. Well, average temperatures in the 50s. Some news to report on the RVBN Newswire. Boston Celtics beat the Chicago Bulls by a score of 107-100 last night. They play against the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight on TNT. Marv Alp is calling the game. It's Happy Cultural Day in Japan, and Game 7 of the World Series happened last night. The Chicago Cubs beat the Cleveland Indians by the score of 8-7 in 10 innings to win their first World Series since 1908. And this was truly one of the best Game 7s of all time, not just in baseball, but in any other sport except football. This World Series Game 7, with like the Indians and Cubs, it could have went several more innings. Cubs came back from 3 games to 1 deficit to win the World Series. You gotta feel bad for Terry Francona though, because he could have won his 3rd World Series as a manager. Well, there's always next year. I wonder what sports franchise will be the next to break their long-running drought. Will it be the Arizona Cardinals? They haven't won a championship in close to 70 years. The Cleveland Indians, the Sacramento Kings, who haven't won a world championship 65 years, or the Toronto Maple Leafs and St. Louis Blues, which they'll be going on 50 years next year. And that's about it on the news from the RVBN Newswire. Be back in a flash with my first video blog of the day. Keep calm, everybody. I'm a Julie Bunny guy. Molly Roseblood of WCCO Roxanne has nice legs. Elizabeth Hatso, so stunning, she's the best. Amy Squeezy's awesome. Amy Linda Church of WPIX Channel 11 in New York, such a rocking cougar's got the best legs in New York City. And Bobby Gibbs of ABC 11 has a sweet Southern accent. The 6 cute leggy blondes, only on RVBN. And hopefully in 2017 I could get to interview all of them for a video blog. I'm back. My first video blog subject of the day is about WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Tough guy. Oh, USA, USA. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was one of the most popular wrestlers in professional wrestling in the 80s and 90s. He spent a lot of time in Mid-South, UWF, and the WWE and WCW. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was born and he grew up in Glen Falls, New York. He was a football player and a wrestler in high school. He won state wrestling championships. He was such a good football player. He was recruited to play football at Ohio State, but he turned that down. He went to Southern Methodist University. He was a great football player down at Southern Methodist University. He was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons of the NFL. He had a brief pro career, but injuries halted his chance of NFL greatness. He was with the Atlanta Falcons. He was a teammate of Mike Esposito, who was formerly a security guard at Billerica Memorial High School. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, while in college, became friends with Fritz von Erich, who was a famous wrestling promoter, and first run Eric trained Jim Duggan to become a professional wrestler. He made his debut in 1979. He wrestled for the Dallas territory. This was a few years before they became World Class Championship Wrestling. He also wrestled in Polynesian Pro Wrestling in Hawaii and a couple of other Southern independent wrestling federations, and he was a jobber on WWF TV in the early 1980s. In 1982, Jim Duggan went to Mid-South Wrestling. He was a heel. He was nicknamed Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He was part of the Rat Pack with Ted DiBiase and Matt Bourne and Mr. Olympia, and they feuded with a lot of the faces in Mid-South Wrestling, including the Junkyard Dog. There was one famous match where Hacksaw Jim Duggan dressed in a gorilla suit in a match between Ted DiBiase and Junkyard Dog. The Junkyard Dog had to leave Mid-South Wrestling, but he came back as Stagger Lee, and Jim Duggan and Ted DiBiase even was Mid-South Tag Team Champions at one point. But Hacksaw Jim Duggan turned face because the Rat Pack, especially Ted DiBiase, recruited Skandor Akbar as their manager, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan did not want like an Arabic as like associating with them, and he became face, and he said USA, USA. Hacksaw Jim Duggan had a long running feud with Ted DiBiase in Mid-South Wrestling, which was classic. One of the best Mid-South feuds of all time. They had a loser leaves tuxedo match, which Hacksaw won, of course, because Ted DiBiase was going to Georgia Championship Wrestling. Also, Hacksaw Jim Duggan feuded with Kamala, and Hacksaw booked Street to see who was the best Hacksaw in Mid-South Wrestling. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Dick Slater, and Terry Bam Bam Gordy. Hacksaw Jim Duggan won several titles in Mid-South Wrestling, including North America Championship, the TV Championship Mid-South. He continued to wrestle in Mid-South when they evolved into the UWF, and he carried a 2x4. In early 1987, Hacksaw Jim Duggan left UWF to go to the worldwide leader in sports entertainment, the WWE. He carried the 2x4 and also the American flag, USA. When Hacksaw Jim Duggan first got to the WWE, he had a feud with the Iron Sheik, but that feud did not reach its conclusion because in May of 1987, the Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan were arrested because they were driving together and they had possession of pot and marijuana, and the WWE fired them because they were in a storyline and that break kayfabe. But Hacksaw Jim Duggan was brought back later on in the year, and for the next 5.5 years, Hacksaw Jim Duggan was a mid-card act in the WWE. As a face, he was one of the most popular wrestlers, feuded with a lot of wrestlers, including King Harley Race, and Andre the Giant, and Dino Bravo, Macho Man Randy Savage, Haku, Dino Earthquake, and a whole bunch of others. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was also a big charity worker for the WWE, a big time face for them. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was over with the crowd. He never got any title shots at the WWE world title because that was always held by a face, or he didn't get any shots at the IC title. But Hacksaw Jim Duggan was very, very over, so he probably did not need a title. And his merchandise with a 2x4, the foam 2x4, was one of the best sellers in the WWE. In 1991 and early 1992, Hacksaw teamed with Sergeant Slaughter, and they had a decent push as a tag team. Towards the end of Hacksaw Jim Duggan's run in the WWE for about 7-8 months, he was part of the Primetime Wrestling panel, and he was decent on there. And Hacksaw Jim Duggan's last big run in the big feud in the WWE was against Yokozuna. Like, They had a match on WWE Superstars that Hacksaw Jim Duggan knocked Yokozuna off his feet, but Mr. Fuji attacked him, and then Yokozuna gave 4 banzai splashes to Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That was just a part of the storyline to make Yokozuna a monster heel. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Yokozuna had briefly a feud that went around the WWE. Yokozuna won. And in late 1993, Hacksaw left the WWE. He wrestled in Independence for about a year. Then he popped up in WCW in July of 1994. He immediately got the U.S. Championship against beating Stunning Steve Austin at Fall Brawl. He held it for about 3 months, feuding with Steve Austin and Vader. He dropped it to Vader at Starrcade 1994, and then Hacksaw Jim Duggan for years became like the same thing, but he was in the WWE, like a mid-card act, still carrying Old Glory and USA, and tough guy. He had briefly a kind of a gimmick in like late 1995, early 1996 as a tape fist champion, and he feuded with the mid-carders in WCW. You know, he got really lost in the shuffle there, but he was probably making a lot of money there. In 1998, Hacksaw Jim Duggan's wrestling career was in serious jeopardy because he was diagnosed with kidney cancer, but he recovered it and he continued to in the ring still, and he like had a feud with like the Revolution in late 1999. Revolution was Shane Douglas and Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko, and it was a decent feud. And eventually Hacksaw Jim Duggan had a gimmick as a janitor, which was kind of awful, but that's Vince Russo for you. And one time when we was doing janitorial duties, he saw the WCW television title in the trash, and he became the last WCW television championship. That lasted a few weeks. Then, in September of 2000, Hacksaw Jim Duggan turned against more or less or general election, what he was called back then, a U.S. title match against Lance Storm. Hacksaw Jim Duggan turned heel and he joined Team Canada with Lance Storm. He shaved off his trademark beard and cut his hair, but that just felt out of place in my humble opinion, and it was another one of Vince Russo's bookings that didn't last too long because WCW went out of business because WWE bought them. And then Hacksaw Jim Duggan was in the independent circuit, wrestling for the XWF and smaller independents, even overseas. He made a couple of cameo appearances in TNA in 2003, 2004. And then in 2005, Hacksaw Jim Duggan returned to the WWE. He was part of the Homecoming for the USA Network, and then he was kind of a regular performer in the WWE. He even had a brief TV feud with Edge in 2006, and he called Lita Hacksaw Jim Duggan's in-ring career with the WWE was getting ending, but he made appearances from time to time on legend shows, and he did a lot of marketing for them, like a goodwill ambassador, and he continued on independent scenes as well. In 2011, Hacksaw Jim Duggan got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, which was an honor well deserved, and he still appears on WWE television from time to time when they have the reunion shows. He was on Legends House, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan's career was pretty good in my humble opinion. Awesome. He was one of the most recognizable stars in the WWE during the late 80s, early 90s, and he never won any WWE gold, but he was so over with the crowd, he didn't need a title. And that's about it on Hacksaw Jim Duggan. USA! USA! Oh, tough guy! I'll be back with 2 more video blogs, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Google Plus today. One will be about the former NHL team, the Atlanta Flames, for 8 seasons. And later on, the third and final video blog of the night will be about the top 10 classic Nickelodeon shows of all time back in the day, from when it first formed to the early 1990s. Keep calm, everybody. I'm a Julie Letting Guy. Wally O's Blood, the WCCO accents, nice likes. Elizabeth Hot, so stunning, she's best. Amy Squeezy's awesome Amy. Linda Church of WPIX Channel 11 New York, such a wacky cool guest, got the best legs in New York City. Bobby Grooves of ABC 11 has sweet southern accent, the best legs in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the words of the 16-time World Heavyweight Champion, Nature Boy Ric Flair, 2-time WWE Hall of Famer. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Bye now.